ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। उत्तरं यत्समुद्रस्य हिमाद्रेश्चैव दक्षिणं वर्षं तद्भारतं नाम भारती यत्र सन्ततिः। विद्यारण्यमुनये धर्मरक्षणहेतवे हिन्दुसाम्राज्यसंस्थापन आचार्याय नमो नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Hari Om. Very welcome to everyone who's watching our podcast and listening to our podcast. Today we are here to talk about Swami Vidyaranya, his life and works. And for that, I have two wonderful guests with me, Swami Swatmananda and Dr.Aravind Raghavan. Swami Swatmananda is one of the most dynamic monks of Chinmaya mission who shares the teachings and learnings from Upanishads, Gita, Itihasas, etc. He also inspires the youth to think and question via different forums and platforms like theatre plays, music, debates, discussions, etc. He is the director of Dharma Yuddha Vidyaranya, based on Swami Vidyaranya's life, and also the co-writer with Aravind Raghavan. Dr. Aravind Raghavan is a PhD from IIT Bombay and is currently working as a research associate. He has been associated with Chinmaya Mission for the past 20 years and has worked in various different capacities as well. He is currently facilitates weekly discussions on Vedantic philosophy as well as youth empowerment. A very warm welcome to both of you.
Hari Om, Chaitanya.
Hari Om.
Thank you very much.
Hari Om, I am Chaitanya. I am engineer by qualification and digital marketer by profession. And I have had the opportunity of playing the role of Swami Vidyaranya in the play Dharma Yuddha Vidyaranya. So before we begin the podcast, while we will be delving deep into the subject of life and works that is so expansive in itself, I think what our users would love to understand and should definitely know is who was Swami Vidyaranya and why is he such an important figure in our history, Swamiji?
So, very fact that you are asking this question, in some ways, it is a tragedy that we don't know about such a great master as Swami Vidyaranya. It is said about him, Aparam Iva Shankaracharya. He is next only to the great Shankaracharya, and his contribution to Bharat, his contribution to Vedant, his contribution to the revival of Sanatan Dharma, his contribution to have this combination of a spiritual master who had the passion to fight against the invaders is unparalleled. And he did not have any role model before him in many of these things. Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji even says that he was the greatest person of the 14th century as far as Bharat is concerned. Entire history of Bharat would have been different if Swami Vidyaranya was not there. Many things of our culture we would not have been able to preserve, protect if Swami Vidyaranya was not there. So he is a sovereign shaper who founded the Vijayanagar Empire. He is a great scholar who composed more than 1800 works in Sanskrit. And he is also a scintillating scholar, a great sannyasi, a serene sannyasi, who became the 12th pontiff of the Sringeri Mutt, the 12th Shankaracharya of the great Sringeri Mutt. So a sovereign shaper, a scintillating scholar, a serene sannyasi, and one of the greatest missionaries this country has produced is Swami Vidyaranya. And very, very important it is to know about him. He should actually be one of the role models for our youth. His birthday is Vaishakh Shukla Saptami, and we are doing this podcast on that occasion. 2 days after the birth of the great Adi Shankaracharya ji, Vaishakh Shukla Panchami is Shankaracharya ji, and Vaishakh Shukla Saptami is Swami Vidyaranya ji. And how interesting it is that he is considered as the greatest, next only to Adi Shankaracharya ji. So I think all of us must know more and more about him.
Very interesting. And in fact, it can be no coincidence that they were born just 2 days apart, although like years are different. But yes, that's very interesting indeed. Whenever there's a great personality like Swami Vidyaranya, there are some key influences, key events that have led to the thoughts, the philosophy. What were those key influences or key events that happened in his life that led to Swami Vidyaranya becoming Swami Vidyaranya as we know him today?
So I think there are many influences in his life. One is that from a very young age, he was exposed to the depth of the Sanatan Dharma and its core philosophy of Vedanta. So he studied under many great teachers like Shankaranandji and Swami Vidyatirtha of the Sringeri Mutt. And he has this passion for the country, for Bharat. As a very young boy, he had that passion, and when he also understood that what is happening to Bharat, so I feel that he was aware of the present situation. He did not limit himself only to a small shell of I, me, and mine, ki my life, my career, my prosperity, and my progeny, and my family. He kept his eyes open and he saw that the invasions have started on Bharat. And he also saw the massive destruction that happens in Sri Rangam. 12,000 Brahmanas sacrificed their life just to protect the murti of Ranganatha Swami. And when he saw that, he was very devastated. Even as a young person, when he was graduating from his Gurukul, when the teacher asked each one that what will you become, what will you do after you graduate from here, somebody said I will become a poet, somebody said I will develop scriptures and I will compose and I will write, and somebody says I want to be having a royal patronage and I'll go and serve under a king. But Madhavacharya was his name earlier. Madhavacharya, he says that I don't want to become anything. And the teacher is stunned that why? He says, when my mother is being attacked, when my culture is being ravaged, what will I do thinking about my life? I am here to think how to protect my country and my culture. And so the spirit of patriotism, nationalism was there in him from birth. And he was also an original thinker in that sense. Because he didn't get carried away by the circumstances, by the people around. When all his friends are thinking about only their life, he has that courage to think completely differently. He doesn't know that, okay, how will I do it, what will happen, but he has that passion. So I feel that he traveled also after that. He saw the state of the country. When he heard that there is the destruction that is happening down south, he actually went to that place, to Srirangam. When he saw that Madurai was defeated and then Srirangam, was ravaged, ransacked, he literally went there and he saw this is our situation. He did not limit himself saying, okay, it is their problem. He had that vision that this is my country. He did not operate out of narrow boundaries. So I think a lot of this uh, influenced him quite early in his life to direct all his energies for Sanatan Dharma to preserve, protect, and propagate this culture. Arvind, you want to add anything?
Uh, Swamiji has covered a lot of important points, which tell about how how the cultural, the revival of our culture and the revival of the nation are something that go together. One cannot happen in the exclusion of the other, and I think that is something that Vidya Energy represents very strongly. And though it is not directly mentioned, but we can infer perhaps that one of his idols may have been Shankaracharya himself, because he one of the compositions that he did was the Shankara Digvijayam, which which is considered as one of the one of the excellent books on the life of Adi Shankaracharya and his Digvijaya. And the way Shankaracharya had that missionary zeal to travel across the length and breadth of Bharat. So maybe somewhere all that those had an impact on him, and he realized that it is not sufficient that he becomes a scholar himself and just remains, as Swamiji said, just looking. Even that's a noble goal to do a lot of study and all of that. But he realized that Bharat needs something more than that, and that is what distinguished him from many other great scholars and poets and composers as well. So I think that he recognized this need. And there's also a legend which goes that even when he was a young student, apparently there was an incident where a girl was being molested by a Turkish soldier, and this young Madhava, this student, armed with just his lathi, he went and confronted that Turkish soldier, and actually, literally, the sword wielding Turkish soldier was defeated by this young Brahmin boy having just a stick in his hand. So I think that courage, righteous courage, backed up with the understanding of the scriptures and recognizing the need of Bharat. I think all these things culminated into making him who he was, and he helped make Bharat as what we know today.
Wow, those are some really interesting stories and events that have led to the greatness. And of course, the story of bravery, wielding a stick against a person who's holding a sword, who's much elder as well. So the strength difference would have also been, huge. So that's marvelous. And hats off to the bravery that young Madhavacharya displayed at that time. Which brings me to my next question to both of you. Um, what did his teachings, how did his teachings impact the society during that period of time? Because I do believe there were a lot of invasions also happening at that particular point in history in the Deccan Plateau of India.
See, the teachings and the teacher in Madhavacharya are not different. He lived what he taught, and through his life, he demonstrated the entire spirit of what he is. What we say, that Bharat needs Brahma Teja and Kshatra Virya. This combination is what we see in Madhavacharya ji. He has the knowledge, the depth of the knowledge as well as experience of the divine. And he has the courage to create Hakka and Bukka who set up the Vijayanagar Samrajya. So after he saw the destruction that happened in Srirangam and Madurai, etc., he got very inspired when he went and met his friend Vedanta Desigar. And when he read the Abhiti Stavam of Vedanta Desigar, that is something that as young people many should read. That when the invaders have come, how is it that the spiritual seekers, what do they think? How do they pray to Bhagwan, and what strength they want to protect the country? So that Abhiti Stavam gave him a direction. Otherwise, when we see certain things like that, we may get dejected, depressed, despondent, and we may lose hope, saying that nothing can happen and we are weak and they are strong and all that can happen. But that Abhiti Stavam gave him a lot of direction, and he went to meditate. For a long time, he meditated on Mother Bhuvaneshwari Devi. In the forest, being alone, living a life of austerity, he meditated, and Mother Bhuvaneshwari finally manifested and asked him, "What do you seek?" He said, "I want power, I want wealth to protect my country." And Mother Bhuvaneshwari said, you are destined to have something far greater. You will not have this directly, but through indirectly others you will get it, and you will be able to serve your motherland. And that is how he comes in contact with Harihara and Bukkaraya from the Sangama dynasty. And so we find that first he anchored himself deeply in the spiritual knowledge. Then he did sadhanas to propitiate the deity. These two are very, very important because selflessness is seen in this. A person who wants nothing for himself, can serve the country the best. And that person has the right vision, that what the culture needs, what the country needs. So when he has that clarity, then he meets Harihara and Bukka. They are also searching for him because they have come to know about him that he is a person who is very nationalistic, patriotic, and feels much for the country. So they both have come together. And when they have come together, then he inspires them to fight back and to ensure that the invaders who have come are pushed back and an entire samrajya is set up. So the foundation of his teachings is no doubt Advait Vedant, but he also has the clarity of Sanatan Dharma, its glory, and what the country needs today is if the culture is to be protected, we have to fight it out. He did not say that this is not my responsibility. I am a Brahmana. So through his actions, he depicted to people that if the country is in danger, see, we always think that we have been taught, that invaders are glorious, they were powerful, they came to the country, they looted us, they plundered us, they destroyed us, we were never a single country, we were all small, small kingdoms. Many such things are taught to us.
Yeah.
But we don't know so many facts. When Islam started, it took just 15 years for them to conquer Tunisia, 20 years to conquer Spain, 25 years maybe to conquer Egypt, 30 years to conquer Iran. But it took more than 70 years for them even to look towards India. More than 300 years for them to conquer any major northwest province of Bharat. And 600 plus years before they could even come to Delhi. Why? Because there have been so many great people who have fought. Not only Kshatriyas, kings, Brahmanas have even fought. So the teachings are based on this clarity that we have to protect our motherland. And then all the spiritual knowledge he was able to use for that. And as he also saw decline of the Sanatan Dharma, he did many things to promote and propagate. That we will see as we go along. But mainly his teachings were from his actions. He did not just give sermons and discourses. He actually motivated people. He trained Hakka and Bukka. He gave them the strategic thinking also. Many things they learned from him, and mainly the spirit of nationalism.
I think Swamiji has covered the main aspects of how he lived his life. To understand his exact contributions and how his teachings influenced, we have to actually understand a little bit more about the circumstances surrounding the creation of Vijayanagara and why it is so important. So I think for that we need to have a little off topic, not off topic, but little diversion to understand the political scenario of Bharat at that time.
Yeah.
I will not make this a history lesson. I will try to just give a little bit of understanding that the Delhi Sultanate as they call, that was initially, it was all very focused on the northwestern frontiers, and that's the main focus. It was during the reign of Alauddin Khilji that they first started coming towards the south. He expanded, and Malik Kafur actually led invasions all the way right down to Tamil Nadu, entire place, and he created a lot of devastation in his wake. And after that wave of attack, it left a lot of these kingdoms very shaken up. The major kingdoms of that time were the Kakatiya kingdom of Warangal. Then you had the Yadavas of Devgiri. Then you had the Hoysalas. Then you had the Pandyas in the south. These were like the major powers at that time. After Alauddin Khilji's attack, there was a lot of, even the Delhi Sultanate has a very bloody history. If you read it, there's like constant struggles and one king overthrowing the other king by whatever means, fair or foul. So that keeps happening there. So a lot of instability there also. And then Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq became the next Sultan of Delhi. He actually felt a threat to his power from his own son, there are two names, three names actually. Initially he's known as Fakhruddin Jona, also known as Ulugh Khan. So this son, he wanted to keep him away from Delhi. So he sent him on an expansion campaign again to the south. And it was during this, he had the template of Khilji to follow, and he was equally devastating. The Yadavas of Devgiri were almost decimated by then, and then that really broke a big resistance that we had. Then the Hoysalas also suffered a lot of defeat. Kakatiyas were resisting. I will not go into too much details at that time. Maybe we'll explore that a little later. But point is, the Kakatiyas also faced a struggle, and Pandyas also fell. So now think about it. All the major powers have all collapsed in the south. And you have this power vacuum created in the country. And you have this invaders who are coming and looting. And they are not just, people often think that they came and they looted the wealth and they went back. Yes, some invaders have done that. But that was not the only intention. They were not just coming there for the sake of wealth. They were coming there to establish their dominance, to wipe out the native culture, and to impose their own belief system. So this was a motivation behind their all the campaigns that they led. So we should not think that they only did it for the sake of money.
Money.
So therefore, these devastations after devastation, so people were shaken up. And what happens at such times is, and one of the targets of the invaders were temples. Because for a Sanatan Dharma, person of Sanatan Dharma, the temple is not a place we go to pray. That is often misunderstood. We say temples is where Hindus go to pray. It is not a place for us to go to pray. It is the abode of our Bhagwan. It's a abode, it's a Devalaya, Alaya, an abode of where Bhagwan is. By targeting temples, what they were basically telling us that, look, you pray to this Bhagwan for your support, and he can't save his own house. How is he going to save you? So that was a very strong point that was being put across, and that shook the faith of people there. So and with the major powers in decline, with the people's faith being shaken, and people, there were a lot of things happening. The women were being targeted, children were being targeted, massacres were happening, forced conversions were happening. Many women had to give up their lives, jump into fire, so many just to save their honor. It was a very 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 dark period of history. Now at that point of time, for people, they start questioning their own faith. They start questioning their own belief system, because they feel that we have been following, and it appears that our culture does not have the strength to resist these invaders. So this was what the young Madhavacharya saw. When Swamiji said, when he traveled across, he just didn't see the massacre. He saw the erosion of faith among the people. And Vedanta Deshika wrote Abhiti Stavam for that same purpose. Abhiti means fearlessness. He wanted to invoke fearlessness from this population which was terror stricken. And those things combined to give him his vision, and those and the teachings of Madhavacharya were built upon this foundation, what he saw. And what Swamiji is putting nation above self, and coming together, and bringing people together, going beyond the boundaries of kingdoms, and many things, having a bigger vision for Bharat. Because if they didn't survive, if it's not a survival of a kingdom, it is not that Madhavacharya wanted to create a new kingdom, that just for gaining some political power. That was not his vision at all. In fact, we will see when the symbols that he gives for Vijayanagara, why he gives those symbols. For him, the kingdom was only a means to restore the faith of people, give them the freedom to faithfully and fearlessly practice their own dharma, and because the repercussions of what happened there could have echoed all across Bharat had this revival not taken place. And when things get revived, when people see cultures flourish, institutions rebuilt, and scholars repopulated, all that happens, and when the ripples that it sends out, the message it sends out, is loud and clear that Sanatan Dharma is Sanatan and here to stay. And that is what his teachings, through his actions, through his words, Madhavacharya did, Swami Vidyaranya did in his lifetime.
The context really is important, isn't it? I think the loot, the plunder was of course there, but it's devastating to kind of see the human loss that we often discount in while talking about this part of the history. And through the play, we had also noticed that Swami Vidyaranya was, of course, a spiritual leader. He was also a statesman, but he also wrote a lot of books, and those books ranged from music, medicine, philosophy. And apart from this, of course, he essayed different roles at different points of time. So I think this is a huge learning for all of us in today's life as to how was he able to excel at so many different fields.
See, he was able to excel because he was absolutely committed. And not that he was a full time spiritual seeker, he had household life. He was married to Vaiti Hotri. He had a son called Mayana. And he still had that passion for the dharma. Because as Arvind said, he saw the devastation and the disaster that has happened and the people suffering. Even Hakka and Bukka, it is said, when they, when they were serving under King Pratap Rudra finally got defeated, and Hakka and Bukka were captured and taken to Delhi. There they were converted, and by a certain strategy, they came back to the Deccan, winning the confidence of the Sultan. They came back to the Deccan. So when they came, they are already converted. So Vidyaranya ji is seeing, that time he is Madhavacharya, he is seeing that these two have already got converted by force. And so when they came back, he saw. So all that kept his mind very, very focused. So a person who has that focus, that my vision is, like he said, it was for Bharat itself. And remember, before him, there is no such person who has done it. Samarth Ramdas ji inspired a Shivaji to fight against the Mughals. But Vidyaranya Swamiji is much before. Vidyaranya Swamiji is in 14th century. There is no example like that available, where a spiritual person is inspiring somebody to set up an empire and guiding them constantly. So I think it is mainly his feeling for Bharat. And that's what we need. We have to feel for our country, we have to feel for our culture, and what is the situation of the country, of the culture, and have the vision ki what can I do to revive it. Otherwise, we may just say ki nahi, nothing can happen, this is all going from bad to worse. Or we will depend. Some political party will come and do, some leader will do, some businessman will do, somebody will do. He did not depend on anybody. He said, I can do. And he prayed for the greatest strength. He prayed to Mother Bhuvaneshwari, he got the direction, he got the clarity. So I think that is what is very important. And once he had that, because the Bharat has to be revived, it is inevitable that different aspects have to be focused upon. His core competency is a Brahmana. So he wrote many compositions, because so many, in the destruction, it is not only temples that were destroyed, libraries were burnt, scholars were killed. So the knowledge was getting completely lost. So he wrote so many compositions. One by one, we will come to that. So on one hand, he wrote compositions. On the other, he inspired his brother, Sayanacharya, to write commentary on the Vedas. Even today, his commentary on the Veda is available. Sayanacharya's commentary on Veda is available. And many of us don't even refer to that. We read Max Muller's translation, but we don't know Sayanacharya's commentary. I did not know that for a long time till I came into this field and started doing research. Otherwise, we have heard of Max Muller Bhavans are there across the country. And the person who translated the Veda did not even come to Bharat, did not even know what Bharat is and its culture is, and he was paid 9 times more than anybody else at that point in time to translate the Vedas in such a way that Bharatiyas feel lesser about their culture, about their country, and they feel that these are written by barbaric tribes who have come from Central Asia. And that's how the Aryan invasion theory got cooked up by Macaulay.
Yeah.
Max Muller and Macaulay together cooked it up. So we don't know any of this. So he had to revive the culture. How do you revive the culture? By bringing back its philosophy, the time-tested philosophy. For that he wrote, he inspired others to write. He went to Kashi, stayed there for 12 years, spoke to the scholars, discussed, debated, many things he revived from there, then invited them to Vijayanagar to ensure that the culture spreads because many of them had gone away due to the destruction here. So he did all this, plus helped the kingdom to flourish, to thrive, to get back those lost kingdoms, especially Madurai Sultanate. He inspired, uh, I think, Bukkaraya and his son Kampanna. So he inspires Kumara Kampanna to win back Madurai Sultanate. Why? Because for him it is very clear that this is something which is lost and we have to gain it back. And it is because of his efforts finally that the Murti of Bhagwan Ranganatha Swami finally comes back to Srirangam. There are many people who sacrificed for it to protect it. Pillai Lokacharya and Vedant Desigar, Sudarshan Bhatt, so many people are involved in that. So the Murti goes from Srirangam to Melkote to Tirupati and is there in Tirupati for a long time. Finally, after 60 years, it comes back to Srirangam. So we say Bhagwan Ram in Ayodhya returned after 500 years and the Ram Janmabhoomi, the mandir was made last year. But even this, how many people would know that Srirangam, Ranganatha Swami himself was in exile for 60 years? Yeah. All this he has in mind. So when this much is there, the passion is burning that my murtis, Bhagwans have to return to his abode, culture has to be revived, country is getting ravaged, the lands have to be got back. There is no time for personal glory, comfort, enjoyment, nothing. The mind is absolutely focused. That's how one is able to achieve. You look at any great missionary, Shankaracharya ji, 16 years of life, what all he achieved in such a short span of life. Samath Ramdas ji, what he achieved. Gurudev Swami Chinmaya ji, what he achieved. 42 years. Vivekananda ji, what he achieved in just 10 years. 1893 you spoke in World Parliament of Religions. 1902 he dropped his body. Why? Because they work with a different energy, which is absolutely divine and selfless energy. They have sublimated themselves fully to the cause. Then they have nothing else to think about. I think that is the main reason.
That's a great takeaway. In fact, undivided focus. And the other thing that I take away is the yajna bhav, or devoting yourself completely to the cause is what can get you to, have that infinite energy to achieve so much and so many different diverse range of fields.
So, as young people, that's what we need. Youngsters have to identify as such a cause, and like all the great masters have done, see what is happening in the country, see what is happening to the culture by yourself and experience. So, travel and see. Don't travel just for enjoyment and Instagram photos and just to put up some stories. Travel and see the situation of the people, the culture, what is happening.
Yeah.
And think for yourself. If this we do, then even today we will find that Bharat still needs a lot from every youngster to revive its culture and to bring back to the glory what it was. We may be well on the way, but there is still lots and lots and lots to be done.
Very true, Swamiji. And I think that's something that we definitely take away from this podcast. I think during these cultural invasions, and I call it cultural invasions because it was that, and not just the land. During these, a lot of effort is also made to kind of defile the temples and destroy, whatever um, idols are there and all of it. And during such a tough period, how did Swami Vidyaranya propagate and preserve the Indian knowledge systems? And also, what was his contribution to the Hindu scriptures and Vedantic philosophy?
So, a lot of Indian knowledge systems, in the sense he had learnt from his gurus. See, the mathas which are there, they were set up by Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji. And in the matha, there are many things which are preserved, protected. They are set up for that. in 4 parts of the country when Shankaracharya set up the mathas, each matha was given the custody of one Veda to protect, preserve, propagate that particular Veda specifically. And so, in the east is the Rig Veda, then down, so the Puri Mat,
Puri.
Rig Veda, then the Sringeri Mat, Yajur Veda, the Dwarka Mat, Sama Veda, and the Joshi Mat is Atharva Veda. So the mathas have been established for that. And yes, there have been a lot of things which have happened. They have also gone through a lot of destruction, etc., because of the invasions. But he learnt. He learnt under different masters. And he mastered various things also. See, this is also another aspect. He did not, as a student, just choose certain specialization alone. He learnt a vast array of things. And like you said, his range of compositions is very different. Advait Vedant, he wrote fundamental book called Panchadashi. He has commented on the Jaimini's Nyaya Mala. So the Karma Sutras also he has commented. He has written the Sarva Darshana Sangraha, which is all different schools of philosophy, more than some 20 schools of philosophy. He writes about it and he is able to counter each of them and say how Advait Vedanta is one of the best philosophies. Then he wrote on Aitareya and Taittiriya Upanishad also, Deepikas he wrote. There is something he wrote on Smritis also. Smritis are the texts which adapt the teachings of the Vedas to the present times. And the Smriti to be followed in Kali Yuga is actually Parashar Smriti. In Parashar Smriti, he not only wrote a commentary on that, but he added an entire section called Achara Kanda for the Kali Yuga, how to live. And interesting thing is, some of his things on law that he wrote in that Parashar Smriti are used even today in the Hindu law. So, whether it is law, he wrote on Sangeet. Sangeet Sar is another composition of his, where 15 melas and 50 ragas are composed by him. So in music, in medicine, in astronomy, in astrology, in Vedant, he wrote Jivan Mukti Vivek. He wrote another composition where 3000 shlokas are there on Advait Vedant. Many things that he composed, 1800 works, how much can we take the names of? In fact, so many of his works are not even available today. Now, when he has studied all these, that is how he is able to revive, because he knows many of these aspects. So he says, okay, this has to be done and this has to be protected, preserved. So temples were destroyed at one point in time, and continuously the invaders did that because the temples are not just, like Aravind said, places of prayer. It is actually an ideological battle, that we are idol worshippers and so we are inferior. And they are superior who are coming and destroying our idols and our temples and converting us to their superior religion. It's a completely ideological battle. And which is why one has to be very clear ki what is my philosophy, why are we here, what is Advait Vedant, what is our scheme of evolution, and how do we look at the whole Srishti. If this is not clear to us, in that scheme of evolution, what role does the temple play, what role does the form play, how do I connect with all the beings? If that is not clear to us, then this revival, etc., will not happen. The spirit to protect this will not come. Because this is something which has, this Sanatan Dharma is something which has given the ideal of Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. This whole world, this entire earth is one family. That is Advait Vedanta. And yet, the clarity is, we must fight against the invader. Like the whole body is me, but if there is a cancerous growth, I will have to cut it out. I can't say everything is divine, this whole body is me and I will not take any steps. That clarity is so important. That's what Vidyaranya Swami had. And so through his vision, he revived all the different aspects.
So, in order to preserve the Indian knowledge systems, what was it that Swami Vidyaranya contributed?
So, how do you preserve a knowledge system? So, to preserve a knowledge system, you need to preserve the system and you need to preserve the sources of knowledge. So the source of Sanatana Dharma's knowledge are the Veda. And what Swamiji said, he inspired his own brother, Sayanacharya, to write the commentary on the Veda. Now, to write commentary on the Veda is not something very easy. It is not that it's just that this is a book and you just sit down and you write. It's not like that. You need to go through so many mantras on the four Vedas, so many details are there. And Sayanacharya is not that he needed an army of scholars to help him with this task. So the enormity of the task is tremendous. That's where he, as Swamiji said, he went to Kashi, he campaigned literally for the scholars to come to Vijayanagara. It's not easy for a scholar to leave his plan, especially a place like Kashi, which is like the center, the hub for all the philosophical discourses, for all the Shastra studies, people, for them to leave that and go to some place, where is Kashi, right there in the on the banks of Ganga, to go to the banks of Tungabhadra. That's a long journey, and he had to go and literally campaign there and convince many scholars to go and help Sayanacharya with his work, and that is one way in which he did it. There are many. There's one whole village which was granted to the scholars, and so that, because nothing can function without patronage, right? On today's times, funding. You need funding for whatever it needs to be done. And whereas and those days, it's who's going to fund these kind of things? He made the people realize that it is the responsibility of the rulers, government, actually, if you want to put it in today's context, has to take care of this. Cultural revival is a responsibility of the government. It cannot be outsourced to others. So he got convinced them to give grants to these scholars, to give them a village, to give them so many places. He has given grants for reviving the small temples in those places. And by doing all these things himself, as Swamiji said, he was a prolific composer who has composed on a variety of subjects. But again, that didn't stop his work, because he realized that only I doing composing is not going to reverse the trend. But you need proper systems in place. You need schools, you need universities, literally. So all those things he created, and he envisioned that, and he created that, and he inspired that tradition to be upheld. And Vijayanagara did that till Vijayanagara existed. It always did that, give that patronage. We read it even in Krishnadevaraya. So many places we read that. He had the Ashtadiggajas, or 8 scholars that supported him, and he also gave patronage to all of them. And the other idea is that the idea of acceptance. If you see, he's a follower of Advaita Vedanta, right? Though he's a follower of Advaita Vedanta, and he has written the Sarvadarshana Sangraha, where he has brought out the fascinating aspects, the unique aspects of Advaita Vedanta, doesn't mean he went about and saying everybody must follow Advaita Vedanta or must believe only in Advaita Vedanta. His good friend and his person who inspired him was Vedanta Deshikar, who comes from the Vishishta Advaita school of thought. And there are also so many Madhva saints. Madhva is different from Madhavacharya, okay? Just to clarify that. Madhavacharya, who says Dvaita philosophy, his followers have been part of Vijayanagar Empire. In fact, there are many Jain temples and Jain people who are also given support in the Vijayanagar Empire. So all that has happened because his vision. Again, the kings of Vijayanagara, they were very staunch Shaivites. They were followers of Shiva. The Virupaksha temple, magnificent temple. The Vijayashankara temple. So beautiful temples they have built for Shiva. But the Vishnu supporters are equally given patronage. And there's so many beautiful, if you go to Hampi, you will see so many beautiful Krishna temples, and all those temples also coexisting. So it was a model of harmony and coexistence and respect and acceptance, all built around the framework of Sanatana Dharma, because that is the very essential, the basis of Sanatana Dharma is this kind of a appreciative thought. So he revived the Indian knowledge systems by recreating those systems to function. And the other part 1, part 2 was to ensure that all the people were given patronage, and most importantly, removing the atmosphere of fear. And oppression. Because under that atmosphere, none of these can flourish. So by removing that threat, you can't compose if you have a sword hanging over your head. You can't have the creative freedom to do all of that. So by giving political stability, bringing in that on one hand, giving them and then giving them patronage and actually bringing the scholars here, establishing systems. I think all that collectively helped restore and revive the Indian knowledge systems.
Indeed. I think, like you very rightly said, you know, a work so profound and that takes so much of, effort cannot thrive in a fearful environment. I think that was the first thing that Swami Vidyaranya aimed to get also right from his childhood, like you said, Swamiji. And to understand a little bit more about this, I would like to understand what was the role of Swami Vidyaranya in founding of the Vijayanagar Empire.
Okay, so okay, I'll again get into a bit of history. So as I said, I'll go back to the point when Ulugh Khan had attacked the south, and at that time he was actually at the first attempt that he had done. He was he was rather outfoxed by Prataprudra, who was the king of the Kakatiya dynasty. So he actually spread a rumor during a long and arduous campaign. He spread a rumor that his father Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq had died. So hearing that rumor, because he was Ulugh Khan was very much interested in becoming the next Sultan.
Yeah.
So he kind of immediately proceeded to go to Delhi, leaving his army leaderless kind of, and taking advantage of the situation. Prataprudra routed him and drove him away. He goes to Delhi. Of course, his father is still very much alive at that point in time. Few years from then, in a very mysterious accident, his father dies. I will leave it at that. And Ulugh Khan becomes the new Sultan, and he is now named as Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He is the most famous of the Tughlaq,
Right.
famous or infamous, however you want to put it, among the Tughlaq kings. So he became the Sultan, but he didn't forget what had happened in the with Warangal. So he came back with full force, and he kind of attacked them. And at that time, Prataprudra could not save Kakatiyas from the destruction. And when he was captured and taken, he kind of took his own life because he didn't want to live the life of prisoner. The Sangama, who was the chieftain of them, they had actually 5 sons. They were 5 brothers. You had Harihara, Bukka, Marappa, Mudappa, and Kampanna. So they were the 5 brothers of 5 sons of Sangama. These 5 who all served Kakatiyas. But after this, at that time, the brothers escaped and they went to Kampili, which is another small kingdom a little further down. One of the generals not one of the generals, but one of the cousin actually of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, called Bahauddin Ghurshap. He did like his cousins, the cruel way he was leading his empire, so he rebelled against him. And he came chasing after him, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, with full force. He escaped from Sagar in Madhya Pradesh and that region, and he came all the way to south asking people to provide him asylum. Nobody gave him asylum. Eventually, Kampili Devaraya, who was the king of Kampili, he gave him he told him that we have that, right? And if somebody comes with that Sharanagati, we accept him. So he said, I'll protect you. Yes. And he fought against the entire might of Tughlaq Empire. 2 times he won, but 3rd time, when he realized he could not, that all is lost, he again sent Bahauddin safely to the Hoysalas, to King Ballala III, and said that you guys protect him because I don't think I can anymore. And he died, and at that time more than 5,000 of his men died. And very tragic incident where all the women and children of Kampili voluntarily entered into fire when they realized that their husbands are going in for that final war. They voluntarily entered into fire because they had to preserve their honor. And somebody might think, why did they have to enter into fire? They could just kill themselves in other ways. But there have been reported incidents of many of these invading soldiers, dishonoring even the dead bodies of women. So therefore, they didn't want to even leave that to chance. So that's the reason they actually entered fire. This tragedy happened, and that time these Sangama brothers also got captured. Harihar and Bukka got captured for sure. Not clear about what happened to the other 3 brothers. They went to Delhi, as Swamiji said. They were imprisoned, but Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he knew that how good these brothers were in terms of their valor and all of that. And at that time, the brothers also kind of realized that if they remain defiant, and they simply die in the jail jailed in Delhi, what help would have they done for their own kingdom? So they came up with a strategy of saying, let's take up this off, because the king had offered him the option: you can convert, I will give you, some power and all of that. So then they also did it very nicely. That apparently during one storm, a part of the jail broke and many prisoners escaped. These two brothers didn't run. And when they asked why, they said that we didn't want to insult the Sultan, so we didn't run. That convinced Tughlaq that these guys have changed. And then they converted. And meanwhile, there were a lot of rebellions happening in Kampili. So he sent them, the two brothers, to crush those rebellions and bring stability. They did that. But now they were again ruling. They were ruling. They had all the comforts. If you really think about them right now, they had struggled all their life, right? And here they were now converted, maybe. But at that point of time, they had the full Sultan's forces. They had authority over the region. They could have just said, okay, let's just live this life now. No, okay, we tried, we failed, but at least now we have something. हम मन से तो हम अपने आप को हिंदू कह सकते हैं ना, बाहर से it's okay. They didn't do that. They were still wanting to they never forgot their cause, and that time they came to know of Madhvacharya and they met. And then that beautiful meeting happened, and they said that the other Hindus were reluctant to accept them because they had converted. And again, Madhvacharya's vision, he said that you guys have to see beyond all of this and what is the purpose for which they have done it. We should not be bound by these rules. And then that is one of the shortcomings that even sometimes our society faces, where there have been multiple instances in history. Netaji Palkar is another example, where when people strategically have to undergo conversion, sometimes they are not accepted back by their own people, for whose sake they did all this. But Madhvacharya broke that trend, and some accounts say they actually did a Shuddhi ceremony, bringing them back into the Hinduism, and then they rebelled, and he also, Madhvacharya, got all the local chieftains to back them. He helped some of the temples which had not yet been looted. The wealth of those temples were also used to fund their initial military campaigns. And all this was happening very nicely, but still Tughlaq obviously was very unhappy, and there was continuous fights happening, and they were ruling at Anegundi at that point of time, and they were not able to defend Anegundi. They were struggling to defend Anegundi. And a very strange incident happened that once there were some, the soldiers of Hakka Bukka were hunting hares, and they had these hunting hounds chasing the hares. And at one point, suddenly, the hares just stopped running, and they turned back and started aggressively defending themselves against the hounds. The hounds got scared and they retreated. This was unexpected, and when this report came to Madhvacharya, he went personally and he realized that kshetra had that great property, because that was the kshetra where Ramchandraji had helped Sugriva against Vali. So that place had that great energy by which people can stand up even against a stronger foe, provided they are on the side of dharma. And that place was where the foundation of the Vijayanagar Empire was laid under the guidance of Madhvacharya. And actually there are some accounts which say that initially it was named as Vidyanagari, because Vidyatirtha was the guru of Madhvacharya and also one of the Shankaracharyas of Sringeri.
Right.
Some say that because of that it was called Vidyanagar, which later became Vijayanagar. Either way, Vijayanagar is how we popularly know it, and that's when the foundation of Vijayanagar happened. And once that was established, almost there was no defeat faced by Hakka and Bukka, and it was just growth and growth and growth that happened afterwards. I've given a little longish answer, but
No, I think
that's kind of
that's a
what happened.
wonderful narration, and I think for our viewers, it's definitely the context and the story is definitely a great way of bringing forth the actual learnings and the history in itself. We read it in the books, but it's not the same. We read it in the books and we write it in the exam and we forget it. But when we hear it like this with context, I think it really matters. So thanks a lot for that.
Just since you mentioned books, in my whole history that I have studied in school, I had maybe, I think, a chapter on Vijayanagara, or maybe 2 chapters on Vijayanagara, maybe. And maybe there was a small one paragraph which said that
Yeah,
Hakka and Bukka founded Vijayanagara. That's all. So yeah, books don't give you much.
exactly. What was Swami Vidyaranya's role in founding the Vijayanagar Empire?
So I would say that Arvind gave the whole history beautifully. We discussed about it earlier that Swami Vidyaranya did tapasya, and he pleased Mother Bhuvaneshwari and he sought her guidance. And There are some legends where it is also said that when he prayed for the wealth, there was a shower of gold coins, and that was also used for the setting up of the Vijayanagar Empire. So his spiritual knowledge, his tapasya, his austerity is also the foundation. Then we find that he guided them even in terms of the place, like Arvind said, to shift from Anigundi and make the Hampi, etc., as their capital. Now we also see that when it was to be started, he had told people that he is going to particular place to meditate, and he would blow a conch. And when the conch is blown, then a certain ritual has to be done here, and that would set up the whole auspicious time for the kingdom to be started. So he went, and the ritual started here. They were waiting for the conch sound, and they heard a conch sound. But in a short duration, they heard the conch sound second time. So when Bukkaraya went to find out ki, why did you blow the conch twice? Swami Vidyaranya, he said, I blew it only once. At that time, he said ki no, we heard the sound twice. So Vidyaranya Swami, he sat down, meditated, and he understood that earlier sound was from someone else who had blown the conch, and it is the will of the Divine Mother that the Samrajya would go on gloriously for 200 years. If it was done at the time when Swami Vidyaranya ji blew the conch, it would have lasted for much, much, much longer. But again, it was the divine will. So we see that Vidyaranya Swamiji, his entire action was guided by the divine. And he also set up a beautiful flag for the kingdom. So on the flag of Vijayanagar, you will see there is a Varaha. So Varaha is the symbol of revival, because Varaha Avatar Bhagwan brought Bhumi Mata back from Rasatala and established her to her rightful place. And Sanatan Dharma was being revived, and for that he kept the Varaha as the symbol. He kept the sun and the moon to symbolize that let this kingdom go on forever, let the Dharma flourish forever. And there is a symbol of a sword to say that we have to fight to protect ourselves. We cannot be passive. Today, that is one very important thing that we have to understand as Hindus, that our forefathers have been very, very resilient. They have been active, they have been resilient, and they have fought to give us this legacy that we have today. If we remain only passive or under some false notions of pseudo secularism, we are going to very soon get decimated demographically, culturally, even financially, in all different ways. We must have that spirit of protecting our culture and defending it and doing what is required to propagate it. So the flag that he gave was a very, very important message to everybody in that kingdom, that this is what the ideals of this empire are. They are founded on the shaurya, on courage, on resilience, on fighting to ensure that your culture is protected and preserved. And if Sanatan Hindu Dharma is protected, then diversity, plurality is protected. That we have to understand. We are not being fanatic for the sake of just saying that our culture is the best and so it has to be protected and we have to impose it on others. We have never imposed our culture on anybody. But this is a culture which has accommodated, accepted, sees everyone as divine, and the whole world will flourish only when this kind of a acceptance and coexistence is there. Inclusivity is there. A certain equality is there. We see oneness in others. So that is the foundation of Vijayanagar Empire also. And that is why we see so much of flourishing of philosophy, art, culture, dance, music, everything happens in Vijayanagar because the foundation is so beautiful. And all that is the vision of Swami Vidyaranya ji.
The foundation and the very cause with which the uh, empire was built was so noble. It was not just for the personal sake of prosperity or looting and plundering. So, in the cause, a lot of other kings also joined. If you can throw some light on that, Arvindji.
Right. So we have already discussed as to that the Kakatiyas and the Company kingdoms were already destroyed by the time Vijayanagara came into existence. So then, and on the other side, you have the Madurai, the entire Madurai part and the Tamil Nadu part, which had been taken over by the Sultanate. Now, one of their own appointed governor of that region, he also rebelled against Tughlaq, and he said that we are an independent empire, and that can they call themselves as the Madurai Sultanate. And around the same time, in Gulbarga region, certain other kings also rebelled against them, and they created what is known as the Bahmani kingdom. So all these kingdoms. So at that point of time, there was almost like a breakup happening in the southern part, and the power of the Sultanate also went down. So so you had the Vijayanagar being created, and you have the breakup of the southern kingdoms into Madurai Sultanate and the Bahmani kingdoms. If you see, all these happened very coincidental. If you see, the years just happened 1-2 years of each other, and that you can also say is the pratapa of establishing that Vijayanagar in that region. The moment it got established there, the opposing kingdom itself broke up. And then Sultanate lost a lot of power, which it didn't gain for many, many. In fact, it never regained that kind of hold on the south ever again. So that was one point. So therefore, now what happened was this Madurai Sultanate. However, it was not that Madurai got replaced with some better rule. They were even worse. They were even worse, and the kind of atrocities they committed is unspeakable. And we don't have to believe our historians for it. All of you, I mean, Ibn Battuta is a very famous Moroccan historian, right? He's traveled all over the world. In fact, there's a book called Rihla, which he has written. If you read the portions regarding the Madurai Sultanate that is mentioned there, it's heart wrenching. At one point, he mentions that after they they conquered they took over the fort of Madurai, they brought all the men there, beheaded them. They brought all the women there. They made the women sit down, and they brought all the children to sit on the lap of the mothers, and they killed them. They killed the children on the lap of their mothers.
And they took out the hearts of the children and fed that to the mother. This is the atrocity.
This is documented by Ibn Battuta. And Ibn Battuta says
Their own historian.
that he says this line. He says that I have never seen this kind of barbarianism practiced anywhere in the world, and the person who did it, that guy himself dies. He dies very soon. They say that some say he was poisoned, some say he just died suddenly of natural causes, and he says that it is perhaps for this reason that his death was hastened by God. His own historian is saying that he cannot stand to see such kind of barbarism. So Madurai was in a terrible shape. So a lot of refugees from Madurai started to desperately seek asylum, and they all rushed into the Hoysala kingdom. They all came to Ballala. Because Ballala, I said, was the major kingdom at that point, and the only one left, kind of. Right. Vijayanagar was just upcoming. And in fact, Harihara, out of respect for King Ballala, didn't call himself king. He called himself as Mahamandleshwar initially, because he wanted to be known just as a governor, as a chief, not as a king, because that's the respect they had for each other. Now, Hoysala Ballala III, the Ballala III of Hoysalas, he waged war against the Madurai Sultanate. He won few times, but eventually he lost. When he lost, his body, he was killed, not just killed, his body was cut open, filled with straw, and put on display on the fort. This is what happened to him. So obviously it angered, and his young son also fought against the Madurai Sultanate. He met with the same fate. He was also killed and similarly done. Now remember, see the queen of Hoysalas, how broken she would have been, right? She lost her husband and her son in a short span of time in the same cruel way. At that time, it is said that Bharti Tirtha, who was the Shankaracharya of Sringeri at that time, he and Vidyaranya and all of them, they went, Madhavacharya at that time, all of them, they went and they consoled the queen. And the queen was so magnanimous that she said that she realized that this is bigger than just Hoysalas. This is a threat, and she voluntarily merged the Hoysala kingdom with Vijayanagar. How many times it has happened in history where an empire, Hoysalas are a very big empire. If you see the history of the Hoysalas, they have ruled for many decades. I mean, long time. They voluntarily merged themselves with the Vijayanagara, so that they understood that the best bet for them against these things is to support Vijayanagara. And then many such kings came together and they merged their kingdoms, and that's how Vijayanagara grew rapidly. And Vijayanagara took on the mantle of resisting this for this because as Swamiji said, right, the purpose was that. So they fought back against the Madurai Sultanate in Goa region, and they freed the Goa region from there. And then at one point of time, they had the Vijayanagar expanded such that both the west and the east coast they had spread. So when he was called that, he had the the king of both the shores. That's a title that Harihara had. Now, eventually, what happened was, though they had defeated Madurai Sultanate still existed, and it was not an easy. Now they knew that they have to fight Madurai Sultanate, but they don't know. It's not an easy decision, right, to go into a war against another empire, and when they are still just they are just a new empire which is growing. So, but then the reports kept coming that Madurai is still a lot of atrocities are happening. So what do we do? So one very interesting thing happened, that this Kumara Kampanna is a son of Bukkaraya, and he once had a dream. In a dream, he saw that there was a fire and like a lot of destruction, and that there was a young girl, a very beautiful looking girl, but her clothes were all full dirty, very worn out, and behind that girl he saw a big gopuram, a temple tower, and this girl was asking this Kumara Kampanna to come. And that's the dream he had. He got up in a very strange dream. So he went and spoke about this, and Madhavacharya immediately said that, I know what this is. You have been called by Madurai Meenakshi. That girl is none other than Madurai Meenakshi, and she's calling you. The time has come to liberate Madurai. And that's when he undertook the campaign, young prince with full bravery. And one of the major leaders who accompanied him on this was a Brahmin called Gopanna, who was an army general. So we think all this caste system is so rigid, right? And if you look at the caste, even though if you want to look at it from that standpoint, of Harihara, Bukka and all of them, they were not Kshatriyas by birth. They actually belonged to the shepherd community. So they were actually from the Shudra caste. But they were, at no point of time has anyone mentioned their caste as being a barrier to them becoming kings. Neither Madhavacharya nor anybody seems to have ever talked about that point at all. So that was the fluidity that was there at that point in time in our society, not what it is portrayed as for. Now, accompanying Kumara Kampanna on this campaign was his wife, Ganga Devi, who was a Sanskrit scholar. Again, another thing, women are not allowed to study and read and all of that. His wife is a Sanskrit scholar. She accompanied Kumara Kampanna, and she wrote his account in a book called Madhura Vijayam, which details as to what is the condition of the place there and how the battles were fought, what was the people's response to them retaking Madurai, and all that is beautifully described in that book called Madhura Vijayam, which is still available today. So see how many misconceptions are cleared in just one episode, right? About caste, about so-called patriarchy and all of those things. And that's when the retaking happened, and that's when Vijayanagar expanded to eliminate the Madurai Sultanate as well, and assimilate it into the Vijayanagar Empire. And again, lot of things. There is a temple called Shri Mushnam, dedicated to Varaha Swami temple in Tamil Nadu. I had gone there with my family, just because we wanted to visit them. There's a board which says that temple was also destroyed, and it was revived by someone from Vijayanagara. That one of the chieftains who belonged to the Vijayanagara has revived it. You can see the influence of Vijayanagara. The famous golden Akasha Vimana at Tirupati. All those who have visited Tirupati will see that golden dome, right? Where the main temple is Sanctum Sanctorum. Yeah. That golden Vimana was built by the Vijayanagara kings. Many of them contributed to it, to make it happen. In fact, the idols of Krishna Devaraya and his two wives are kept inside Tirumala. I don't know how many of you, anybody who goes there, please notice it next time. That you are outside when you come after the darshan, You can just see that actually the idols of Krishna Devaraya and his two wives are there. So the influence of Vijayanagara is massive, and that growth also happened in a very smooth way. And most kingdoms there were taken over, except for the Bahmani kingdoms that came back to bite them much later.
So interesting thing is that there was no expansionist agenda here.
Hmm.
They didn't want to expand because they wanted to be powerful. The cause is what united them, and they all came together understanding this fact. Hoysalas gave up their kingdom and merged, and then together they went and liberated Madurai Sultanate, and they have become together. When people say that, kings were only fighting within our country between each other, in some situations, yes, that has happened. But these are stories where one has to understand how they have come together also for the sake of the cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great story, and shivers run down my spine hearing some of these instances, uh, be it the Madurai liberation and how the goddess herself came to the dream, and or the atrocities that these barbaric invaders were, committing in these places. I think it's a beautiful cause that brought these kings together, and when they were fighting for the cause, they all united and fought back the invaders. I think that's been like a hallmark of the freedom journey, even as we see late into the British history as well. That's what brought us together and we fought back. Now, considering Vijayanagar Empire has now been established, the Madurai Vijayam also happened, as it has been described in the book. What was it? How wide and how big was the empire? Because that is one aspect that many people are not aware of. How prosperous the empire was, how big the empire was, and of course, even if we go now to Hampi, which was the Vijayanagara back then, you can see beautiful architecture. You can see beautiful idols. You can see the temples, although not in the same state as it used to be, maybe. But all of that back then, uh, that must have been something. And if you can both throw some light on what was the level of prosperity and how did they preserve the art and culture apart from the architecture that we usually talk about.
So Vijayanagar, Hampi itself, by itself, if you see Hampi, it was supposed to be the second largest city in the world at that point in time. It is said that diamonds were available on the market, on the streets, just like fruits and vegetables. Their army had a standing army. The soldiers were more than I think 2 lakh soldiers were there, foot soldiers. Thousands of elephants, chariots. So the army was also very, very powerful and strong. Uh, the foundations of Carnatic music are in
Mm.
Vijayanagar temple. Art, literature, if you see some of the paintings, what we see in the cave paintings, that style of paintings are there in Vijayanagar even now, in Hampi and some of the places. We find also that agriculture, trade, mining, many things they were expert in. They would employ people. So many people from today's Andhra, Telangana, etc. would come. Skilled people were encouraged. They were, contributing a lot to the economy. India's contribution to the world GDP was almost 25%. In that, Vijayanagar was one of the major contributors.
Mm.
We also find that in terms of infrastructure, even today there is a dam where 18 channel dam is there to ensure that water is supplied properly to the people. So they built dams in those times. Just imagine a dam, 600 years it had withstood the test of time, and today it is being used. If you see the Virupaksha temple, beautifully they have that pinhole camera.
Mm.
So the Gopuram of Virupaksha will reflect in an
Inverted.
inverted way. So that
Mm.
technology was there. Even if you see that Vidyashankar temple, the 12 pillars of that, as per the zodiac sign, the sun rays will fall appropriately in one pillar through the year. Very amazing Vithala temple if you see in Hampi, the musical pillars which are there.
Mm.
Like that, there are so many beautiful aspects if you see in terms of art, architecture, literature. How many great, composers, scholars, like he mentioned, Ashtadiggajas were there in Krishna Devaraya's court. See, we know one of the most famous king in Vijayanagar has been Krishna Devaraya, because we have been hearing a lot about him. But even others who have been there, different kings have been there who have been, in fact, three different dynasties uh, have come together to rule Vijayanagar.
Yeah.
It's not only one dynasty which has been going on. So you see diversity there, you see plurality, you see inclusiveness. Vijayanagar, that way, if you see for 200 years, most glorious economically, culturally, spiritually, different schools of philosophy are there. Like we saw earlier, he went to Kashi, got so many scholars, lots of debates, discussions, many things used to happen. So Vijayanagar is a very, not only a model of economic prosperity, but rooting in culture, spirituality, um, patriotism, all that. It is brilliant in terms of all that. Arvind, you can add some more.
Yeah, I think Swamiji has mentioned some very important points, and a lot of Vijayanagara we didn't know. Sad part is we didn't know as in about Vijayanagara's greatness. It was only when certain foreign people came and they translated or they chronicled the experiences of Vijayanagara, and those I think there was Domingo Pace
Domingo
and
Pace,
many of
yeah.
them who came and they chronicled it, and afterwards their translations etc. when it started to come, people said, oh, this was, they just thought it was some ruins in Hampi.
Mm.
Think about the decline that's happened there. The Hampi was twice the size of Paris. It had 1.6 million people living there. It is incredibly incredible things you can read about it. If those who have not gone there, they must go it, studying what it is, understanding what it is, and then go there. Otherwise, you will just go and say, "Okay, this ये कोई structure है, वो कोई structure है," just go and come. But that's not it. It is so much of thought put into it. Now, and in fact, there is one interesting reference I read in one of the books that Shivaji Maharaj, when he was a young prince, this is even after the fall of Vijayanagara. Okay, if you see Vijayanagara fell, and by the time it no longer was what it was. It had almost gone completely. At that time, Shivaji Maharaj was taken there, young Shivaji Maharaj, for visiting there. From I think there was a festival celebrations happening.
Mm-hmm.
He was so impressed that he asked his mother that how come these kind of celebrations of our festivals are not happening in our kingdom. And his mother, we know how great Jijabai was. So she said that, yeah, because we are not free. We are under foreign rule. We cannot have this kind of open celebration of festivals. And that got him thinking, so somewhere, the spark of that revival that had been lit in Vijayanagara, it found its way into the heart of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and we know what his contributions are in terms of revival and all of that. So it has kind of, so there was a lot of impact that Vijayanagara has had when it existed, and even after its fall, it continued to inspire and get people to raise and fight, take the flag of Sanatana Dharma and fight for it.
In fact, when I went to visit Hampi, I was also told about a legend. I have to do more verification of it, but it is said that when the Mughals attacked
Mm-hmm.
in Maharashtra also, where we see, so Pandharpur, the Murti of Pandharpur Bhagwan, Vithal,
Vitala.
has come down to Hampi, and there Vijay Krishna Devaraya has protected it for a long time, and he did not want to let the Murti go back. But finally, the Murti made its way back and established back in Pandharpur.
Pandharpur.
So even there, you just think about it. So many Murtis had to travel everywhere else to, and finally, because of Vijayanagar, they came back. And here, a Murti has to come from Maharashtra to Vijayanagar to
Vijayanagar.
be safe for some time till things are secured here, and then again go back. So Vijayanagar that way also played that role of supporting nearby, like he said, Goa, etc., were freed. They have done quite a bit. It's not only about Hampi. So when we go today to Hampi, we see the structures and we see, oh, this is what it is and how glorious it would have been. That is one thing. But one has to go there having understood ki what is the contribution of Vijayanagar for Bharat, for Sanatan Hindu Dharma. Then one will understand the impact, the importance of this great place. It's not only about art and architecture, it is all this. And the best part is that entire place, if you go even today, the basis is a lot of spiritual legends of ours.
Hmm.
Kishkindha is there.
Yeah.
This Anjanadri hill where Hanumanji is born, that is there. Pampa Sarovar is there. Rishyamukh Parvat is there. Matanga Rishi's ashram is there. The Matanga hill is there. So Shabri is supposed to have been there. Virupaksha, nearby the mandir, you will see they will tell us ki this is the place where Mother Parvati has done so much of tapasya
Tapasya.
and pleased Bhagwan Shiva. So that whole land is a very, very sacred land. So for us, it's not only monuments and architecture there, but that's a sacred land where our gods have walked, our gods have done tapasya, and that was invaded, that has been defended, protected, and it's a solid sign of cultural resurgence and resilience. You have been to Hampi after we did the whole play. What was your experience, if you want to share?
Yeah, Swamiji, I think the whole um, episode wherein I got to play the role of Swami Vidyaranya, I got to essay that. I think that was I count myself very blessed to be from the same land as well. And I also got to play the role of Swamiji. And through that, I got to learn, not just learn, I think I also got to experience a lot of emotions because I think acting is the only place wherein you do emotional hard work. So a lot of those things I was able to experience, and while playing the role, and I think that was a wonderful experience. And going to Hampi after the entire drama and having lived that role in on the stage, it was it really affected me very deeply, because having known the story, and not only having known it, also kind of somewhere lived in
Lived
me,
it.
that story. So that story, when I saw it, it really deeply impacted me. The way Hampi is in today's state, um, that really stayed, and it kind of felt really bad for me. But yeah, to also imagine what it was also amazing. To know each aspect of it, when we went there, it was a guided tour, and I think that really brought out the beauty of the place, because we were able to know each aspect. And also seeing Swami Vidyaranya's temple, that was also very humbling and very nice experience for me. I think thanks a lot for making that play happen. I think that was a wonderful experience for all of us, who worked as the cast of the play, but especially for me, because I got to essay the role of Swami Vidyaranya himself. So I am very grateful, blessed, and indebted for the opportunity, Swamiji.
And you played it very well.
Thank you,
Yes.
Swamiji. Now, which also brings me to the question: how did a great empire that it was come down to the state of Hampi that it is now?
So there are many reasons for the state of Hampi what it is now. But
Hmm.
first we have to understand Vijayanagar as by itself. It was very prosperous, powerful, being ruled by Krishna Dev Raya. What we see is because of the inherent philosophy of our Sanatan Dharma, we accept, accommodate, see a divinity in everyone, we come together. And so, even in Vijayanagar, there were people who were commanders who were from Islamic background. As I said, in Vijayanagar, so many philosophies have coexisted, religions have coexisted, and the culture has been of diversity and plurality. But so some of these ideologies are very clear. They are there, some of them, to destroy. So, in a very important battle, we find so two things happen. One is that the Bahmani kingdoms, five of them, they come together to attack Vijayanagar. And that wars have been happening. It is not that one time only it happened. The wars have been happening. They have been fighting. Vijayanagar has been putting away. That is continuously happening. Now these five of them, they come together to attack. And two commanders in the Vijayanagar army called Gilani brothers, they betray Vijayanagar. And they go and join forces with the enemy. And they even, I think they behead the king, Ramaraya. And so eventually Vijayanagar collapses because they all come and take over. So we find that many times, in fact, we don't learn from our history. That is something that we see history repeating, where we let go of the enemy in the name of forgiveness. If they have negotiated a surrender, we say, okay, let them go. They come back, they finish us with double force. Sometimes one says it's okay, we all together, we all are together. One doesn't take a strong stand, one doesn't understand many times. Because it's not about only human nature, it is about an ideology. And when a certain ideology considers you as an opponent and considers finishing you as their goal, you have to be careful. Have we not seen that happening time and again in our country? Not only happened, it right now also happening in so many parts of the country. Just recently it happened or not in Nagpur. How many people said that our own friends belonging to a different religion, they have pointed out that these are Hindu shops, and then people have gone and burnt and destroyed it. So we have not learned from history. And Vijayanagar also fell into the same trap. The very ideology which they were fighting, resisting, and they had, sacrificed so much to revive our culture, they let go in that situation and allowed people of different communities to come and take part in the major aspects of the army, administration, many things, and they got betrayed. So that is one aspect. Second aspect is, over a period of time, there have been so much neglect that has happened of that place. Like Arvind said, one did not even recognize till the foreign peoples, their translations, etc., were seen, and some people have come forward to then recognize the place as UNESCO heritage site and all that for tourism purpose. But our own governments have not put in the efforts to make the entire history known. Our textbooks don't have many of these details. And more sadly, even recently there have been anti-social elements and anti-Hindu elements who have gone there, and literally, if you see, videos are there where the heritage structures, the pillars have been thrown and broken with a certain vested interest and an agenda to prove that when we are in the majority, this is what will happen to your culture, this is what will happen to you. You cannot even thrive, you cannot even look back at your historical monuments, we will destroy it all. So even till today, the destruction happens, unfortunately. And so, the root cause of all that is what? We don't learn from history, the lack of cultural pride, and the unity among the Hindus to come together and protect our culture. these are the main causes why the decline happens and why the fall has happened. Arvind, if you want to add anything more.
I think Swamiji has said most of the important points. And one thing about Vijayanagar specifically was that somewhere along the line, they forgot the purpose for which they were created. So all these the beautiful symbols, that was there. If you see, by the time of Ramaraya, Vijayanagar was still a militarily powerful kingdom and all of that, but it was not really focusing on anything of cultural revival. It was just fighting to expand its territory, not the vision that which it started.
Mm.
So if you see that, that's there in some of the history part where Ramaraya was very much a ambitious ruler, was continuously expanding. He won many times, but he was very aged actually when he was fighting. I think I don't forget, but very aged he had become by the time when he was fighting all this. So it lost the purpose for which it was created. Vision was lost, and when vision is lost, eventually the manifestation of that fall has to happen everywhere, and the physical fall also happened. It is said that for many months after the fall of the Battle of Talikota, where this is happened, and after the fall of that of the Vijayanagar Empire, for many months the invaders were there trying to destroy Vijayanagara. They wanted to make it complete ashes, dust, but they got tired because they could not break it anymore. Some of the things which are standing because they got tired of breaking it, because that was the kind of structures they were. Such strong and massive structures they were that they stopped, they could not go on anymore. And that's why we have whatever is remaining. So therefore, that is the scale of the destruction also that happened. But that's also many lessons to learn from all of this, as Swamiji said.
They actually set fire. For
Hmm.
months, the monuments were getting burnt. If you go today, also, some of them you will see
Burn marks.
the burn marks are there. For months, they have been burning, and then it still, because it is stone, it is made in such a beautiful, grand way, they got tired, exhausted. That, if you see many places, it has happened. If you see Kailasa temple also,
Mm.
near,
Ellora.
you know, Shambhaji Nagar,
Ellora.
Ellora.
Yeah, yeah.
There also one will find that they got tired in destroying it. Still, what is remaining is so grand.
Yeah.
What it would have been. And these things, if one says you put aside all these and start fresh, how many times we have started fresh and how many times it has landed us up in similar situation. We saw in Kashmir, we are seeing in Bengal, we are seeing in Kerala, we are seeing in so many places. The same thing keeps happening again and again and again. And we don't learn our history at all. Okay, this is a completely ideological battle. And ideology, when it is not open to change, we may keep thinking, sit down and have a dialogue. It is not going to work. We will keep sitting and having a dialogue, they'll come and finish. So we are not ready at all. Again, we are repeating the same thing.
Yeah, I think even to that point, I remember when we had visited Hampi. It's such a grand, the scale is such a grand scale that I did see that while they were trying to defile or like destroy, what ended up happening was there are so many idols, and outside the temple also, inside the temple also. So what they ended up doing was they just chiseled the nose,
Hmm.
because even to destroy it took them so much time that they decided to like just chisel down the nose. So that was the amount of scale at which maybe it was at that time, that even after destruction there is so much left. And that brings me to the next question, which is, we made the entire play Dharma Yuddha Vidyaranya, um, and the entire story is such a vast story, right? How, like, how did it, from conception to reality? How much time did it take? And what were some of the major challenges that you faced? Of course, me as an actor, I know, but I would love to know both of your takes, because writing and directing is a totally different ball game.
So the seed of the play was sown by Puja Gurudev in the late 80s. when he gave different projects to different Chinmaya Yuva Kendra members in different parts of the country. He gave Kambaramayan to Chennai.
Mm.
He gave Samarth Ramdas to Pune. He gave Swami Vidyaranya to Hyderabad chicks. So that way he gave different projects, and Kambaramayan came up, Samarth Ramdas came up. He had also given Chhatrapati Shivaji to Mumbai chicks. So the work was happening on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj also. At some point it stopped, and so that never manifested. Hyderabad chicks also put in some effort to know about Swami Vidyaranya and then make a play, but that also didn't manifest. So when I came to know, okay, this is what Gurudev wanted, so we started doing research, and then it was COVID which struck, and so we were all confined to homes, and with all that limitations, we tried to do a lot of research. So many challenges are there even in making the storyline, because Swami Vidyaranyaji's life, there are many different contradicting informations that are available about his birth, whether he was born in 1296 or he was born in 1302. There is a confusion. Who are his teachers? There is a confusion. When did he take sannyas? Whether he took sannyas before he became the minister and he guided Hakka and Bukka, or he took sannyas afterwards.
Mm.
What was his age? When did he take samadhi? Did he live 100 and some versions say he lived 112 years. Some versions say he lived 90 years. Different. The person itself is in confusion in that sense, that there are multiple people who are thought of as Vidyaranya Swami. There is a Madhava Mantri, then there is Madhavacharya who is Swami Vidyaranya before he took sannyas. Then there is another author called Madhava who wrote on Ayurveda, etc. And then of course there is Madhvacharya himself. But Madhvacharya is not confused here. But these three people, they are of the same time. The Ayurvedic scholar, then the Mantri, Madhava Mantri, and then Madhavacharya who became Swami Vidyaranya. So it took a long time for us to collect all the facts, put our heads together, and we even spoke to some of the scholars, attended some of their seminars, and Arvind did that hard work to put the whole thing properly in sequence from the birth of Vidyaranya Swamiji, Vaishak Shukla Saptami, 1296, and up to his Samadhi in 1386. 90 years is his lifespan. And he took sannyas in the last 6 years of his life and became the pontiff of the Sringeri Math. So he guided people through as Madhavacharya, as a Grahastha only. So one was this putting down of the facts, and a lot of eye-opening things. Many things were not known to us. Like Arvind said, some of the names of the kingdoms also we had no idea. Names of the kings we did not know. Prataparudra and Devaraya, Kakatiya kingdom, Veeraballala, no idea of the names of these. So some research on that also. Vijayanagar, yes, there is information which is available. But to put together who invaded when, what happened, how was it formed. So there is a timeline of Swami Vidyaranya. Then there is a timeline of what happened before Vijayanagar, during Vijayanagar, and the decline of Vijayanagar. To do all this took about 2 years. And there is still more to be done. But with what we could gather, we said, no, this has to come out soon now. And so we decided that in our National Youth Convention in 2023, which we did at Chinmaya Vibhuti, that was supposed to be in May. That happened in May. So in February, we said that the play has to happen in May. Everybody thought it is impossible, not possible. How will we do? We just have the script. Everything has to be done. The actors have to be called, the recording has to be done, the music has to be done, the dance, choreography, costume, backstage, graphics, everything has to be done. And we had how much time in hand? Just March, April, and May, the second week the play has to happen. But I would say it is Bhuvaneshwari Devi's kripa, Vidyaranya Swamiji's blessings, Puja Gurudev's Ashirwad. We did a lot of hard work and it did happen. Till that day, morning, we were still wondering how this is going to happen. But it is grace of Bhagwan. It did happen and happened beautifully, and many people were inspired by it. As a script writer, Arvind did the most of the hard work to put it all together in a way in which it is inspiring. There is no humor in the entire play. Nowhere. It is an absolutely intense play, but 1 hour 50 minutes will pass without any moment of being bored. Who is a Hindu? What should I do as a Dharma Yodha? What is the life of Swami Vidyaranya? What did Vijayanagar achieve? So many Hindu myths like Sati, all those lot of Hindu myths we clear. And so one by one it keeps going. Uh, a very, very inspiring play, and all credits to Arvind for making that script so, uh, engrossing,
Inspiring. Yeah.
inspiring. And really, the purpose of that play gets served because it does create a certain awakening about Sanatan Hindu Dharma, about our great ancestors, about Swami Vidyaranya ji himself, about the glory that was Bharat. So the theme of our camp, our convention in 2023 was Radiant, Resilient and Resurgent Bharat. And the play serves all the three. The Radiant Bharat that was during Vijayanagar period, the Resilient Bharat where one has fought to protect, preserve and revive the Sanatan Dharma, and the Resurgent Bharat where when we understand more about this, with that pride, we create a grand future for our country. So all the three purposes were served beautifully by the play.
Yeah, so of course, Swamiji said it was not easy to collect the information, and so putting together a script, of course, writing powerful dialogues and all of that is one aspect of it. But the most important thing is to have the content and the vision to what is it that we are going to talk about here, and then how we are going to present it. So of course, Swamiji also has was very very instrumental in making all that happen together, and we had a team of few people who would help with the researchers because it was a lot of things to do. And please remember that none of us here are any kind of who are professionals in this field. None of us are historians. None of us are scholars, Sanskrit scholars, or any of that thing. So we were all, and we all have our own full time jobs and everything, and we were taking time out to make this happen because somewhere we all felt that this story needs to be told. It's something that needs to be told, and that's what led to the effort behind making it happen. And at many points when we would actually feel that we've hit a dead end, because now what do we do now? Because there's person A who's saying something, person B who's saying something else, and how do we know which is true? And both those people are also no longer there, and in some cases you have one people from certain scholars from Karnataka who claim something else, certain scholars from Andhra Pradesh who claim something else, and so how do we reconcile all this? And at different points in time, we were always the grace factor that Swamiji mentioned happened. We suddenly some new source would come to us, and suddenly some book would come to us, or where we would be, somebody will suggest, "Hey, look at this." And some things were in other languages. People help translate that for us from other languages, like from some things in Kannada literature, which people helped us to understand. And we got some resource people who had done really good research on Vidyaranya from the regional texts. And all those, because in English you have a lot of limitation because we have to often rely on what certain scholars have written. That's all. We don't have anything else in English available. Therefore, a lot of regional texts help us also understand a lot. So all these, so many people, collective contributions is what made this play happen. So it was very very interesting and very inspiring journey to come up with this whole script and to make this play happen. And you know we had decided on a particular script, and then we said that okay, we are going to go with this now. This is in February. Okay, when we said okay, we're going to go with this, and we thought we'll do a trial script reading. where we'll get people to just we call few people, and it was COVID time, so we
I
couldn't
think it
meet.
was Ugadi on that day, Gudi Padwa day,
Correct,
that we
somewhere around
decided to
that
do
time.
that. Yeah.
And also just so we were not able to meet together, so we did online. So people will read through, and after that we finished doing that about 10:30 in the night. And after that, I was like, this is not working out, doesn't seem to be working out. So I called, I think I messaged Swamiji. So it was 11:30 in the night, and Swamiji also messaged me. I am also feeling the same, and we have to rework on this immediately. So it was so we sat and reworked on it, and that night we sat and reworked the next day, and then eventually we decided to cut out a lot of things and present it in whatever form it decided to come out, and that's when the play happened. So yeah, there were a lot of contributions which made it happen, and also grace factor definitely. But it gave great satisfaction that we were able to bring out some kind of coherent story of his life. Again, we don't claim that this is the 100 perfect version which has no flaws. In fact, in our play itself we say that we are not claiming that to be, because we understand that there are different things. But given what we know, and given putting all the things that we could understand, this is the most coherent story that we can say.
And we have not taken any creative liberties which will go against the facts.
Mm.
Whatever has been depicted is authentic. What has happened based on whatever sources we have collected. And one interesting thing is the actors who came. So we had challenge because Chinmaya Yuva Kendra Mumbai it took the initiative, but we need a large cast. About 60 plus people are there in this whole play. So it is truly an all India Chinmaya Yuva Kendra production, because Chinmaya Yuva Kendra members from Mumbai, from Navi Mumbai, from Pune, from Mulund, Yuvaveers from across Bharat. Some people were from Goa, some people from Sikkim, somebody from Karnataka,
Meerut also.
Meerut, all
Yeah.
different places. So it's a truly an all India chick production, and each one was rehearsing in their own places. Scenes were outsourced, and then they come together on certain days and rehearse. So it has been a good learning experience and a big challenge to bring it out. But as Arvind said, very satisfying, because at the end of the day, when you see that the entire auditorium, wherever we have done about 4 5 shows, whatever we have done so far, people have been spellbound sitting there and stunned, and also appreciating many things that they did not know. And so many people have visited Hampi after that play. They have put it on their, some of them have put it on their
List.
travel list. Okay, this is, I need to go. Because only if you go and see, then you will understand, oh, this is what it has happened to my country and to my culture. It will stir up something inside to make you contribute further now. So I think in that sense, the play has served its purpose, and our vision is to make it into a web series, and efforts are on for it. So let us see as and when we can make it.
Indeed, Swamiji, and I think the purpose was to, of course, tell the life and works of Swami Vidyaranya, but I think there was also a purpose of cultural resurgence that we wanted to serve through that, and continuing that message ahead. Towards the end, we also have Swami Vidyaranya ji, speaking to the audience directly, and if we had to take a very short version of it. Of course, I would not reveal that for anyone to not have the joy of watching it live. But if you had to give a few messages, both of you, to the audience from the life of Swami Vidyaranya, what would they be?
Each of us are a Dharma Yodha. First, we have to look at ourselves as that. Ki I am a Dharma Yodha, because Dharma requires a Yuddha to live. First, a Yuddha is inside, to live against my own selfishness and against my own lower impulses and tendencies, to live a dharmic way of life. Today is Ram Navami, and we celebrate Ram Navami because Bhagwan Ram is a Vigraha of Dharma.
Hmm.
He did not allow his emotions to overwhelm him and compromise from righteousness and Dharma. He always kept nation above the self. So, when we understand that each of us, our identity is I am a Dharma Yodha, there is a battle within, and yet there is a battle outside also, and I cannot shy away from that battle.
Mm.
I will have to take up that battle to protect my dharma. Otherwise, if I am not doing that to protect my dharma, I am contributing in some ways to finish it. I have only two choices. If I am apathetic towards it, then I am a problem. I am contributing to its destruction.
Mm.
And if I escape and run away from it, then to all the more I am contributing towards it. And worst is if I am taking part in joining with the other forces to destroy, then I have completely betrayed my dharma. So, first is I am a dharma yodha, and there is a yuddha going on to destroy it. Outside forces, inside forces, they all are there to destroy. So, first I have to understand that there is no choice. Second, so if I know that this is a war, then I have to equip myself.
Mm.
So, I have to study, I have to do my sadhanas. It will not happen only by externally putting in the efforts. Internal anchoring, like Swami Vidyaranya ji did. He did tapasya, he did penance, he propitiated Mother Bhuvaneshwari. That has to happen. Third, I must have the pride of my Sanatan Dharma and my country. For that, I have to study and travel, and I have to meet people. I have to understand the glory of this great land. Bharat is not an ordinary land, it is just not a geographical place. If you see our Shastra, Devatas, why to take birth on Bharat?
Mm.
This is a spiritual land which has given the peak of evolution and the zenith of all achievements through supreme infinite peace. How does a human being achieve that? That this land has given and continues to give so many ways how to reach that. So I have to anchor in those aspects. And third, as we said earlier, we cannot depend on any external forces saying that we can't outsource it to others. How much ever development, infrastructure, technology, all that we may use and we may require, and the country should grow, no doubt, in these aspects. But the country has to stay true to its core competency, and Bharat's core competency is Sanatan Hindu Dharma. If Sanatan Hindu Dharma gets eradicated from Bharat, or the Hindus become minority in Bharat, Bharat won't be Bharat anymore. So if we understand all these, that what our ancestors have fought for, what have they given to us, it is my basic responsibility to first even preserve that. Next step is to propagate it. But at the moment, there's a battle even for survival. So I need to recognize that, equip myself, and lastly, spread more and more awareness to everybody about this. Because many are asleep even today. So I'll end with this, where in Chinmaya Yuva Kendra we always say that remember these four words: aware, care, dare, and share. Be aware of the glory of the culture, of the country, care for it, dare to live it, and then share it with maximum people. That is what is required, and that is what Vidyaranya Swamiji did, and that's what all of us must learn from it. Yes, sir.
Swamiji has put it very, very beautifully. So I will just add, I will just add on to what Swamiji has already said. If you see Swami Vidyaranya, as well as the Harihara, Mukkaraya, and all of them, first is we must become excellent.
Mm.
Our first striving, especially this message is to the youth, but to everybody in general. As a nation, we cannot be a nation of mediocrity. We must become excellent, because unless we become excellent, nothing will happen. We must become selflessly excellent, because a lot of people strive for excellence, but just for themselves, or excellence just to so that that excellence will bring some joy to themselves and their family and whatever. But selflessly excellent, if we become, then we will be able to really make a difference. And if I am not selfless, that means what am I like? For what am I doing all this? We must be dedicatedly, selflessly excellent. So dedicate ourselves to a cause that we really identify with, and our where we are required. Our culture and our Bharat are such causes which definitely require us, and we can contribute to it in different ways.
Mm.
Dharma Yodha does not necessarily only mean someone who is fighting a battle in only one way. It could be if we become Dharmayodha in the field of science, where we bring out the achievements of science, we bring Bharat to make Bharat a great scientific country with great scientific development and inventions and technology. If we make Bharat like that, it will bring respect, and it will and all that is will be possible with the cultural values, so that science and technology is not misused. That foundation has to be there. So in that way, if whatever may be our chosen field of thing, but we should find that cause to dedicate it somewhere to Bharat and to our dharma, to be selflessly dedicated towards it, and to become excellent in it. That would, I believe, is one way of looking at the life of Swami Vidyaranya ji, as well as all those people who have been with him at that time, and also of Ramchandra ji in some way of looking at his life as well. And these are the idols who we would like to follow in our life. So that would be what I feel.
Indeed. I think I have one more question on dharma, right? So this one was samanya dharma, or for everyone, right? Then there is raja dharma. So for people who follow the raja dharma, the statesmen, the policy makers, what is it that they should learn from Swami Vidyaranya ji's life and Vijayanagar as an empire?
See, Bharat's core competency has been dharma itself. Dharma is something which upholds, unites, integrates. Dharate iti dharma. Dharana dharma is what we say. And dharma is the foundation of entire life. Dharma is vision of oneness. Dharma is love. Dharma is values. Dharma is duties. That is the foundation of entire life and all aspects of life. Today, in the false notions of secularism, what we are doing is we are wantedly ignoring, neglecting, and exploiting Hindu dharma and the Hindus and their temples and the other institutions, and feeding, appeasing a certain group of minorities, not even all the minorities.
Mm.
And when we speak about promotion of dharma and certain Hindu ideals and values, etc., then this so called concept of secularism comes in. Secularism is not our concept. We may say that, in the constitution, the word secular is there. It has been put forcefully. Secularism, literally, based on the European constructs, is that there should not be interference of the state in
Religion.
religion. Here it has come to mean something else only, that all religions are same. Then it boils down to no, Hindus being anti-Hindu is secularism. So
Mm.
it has taken lot of wrong turns, and this
Yeah.
is not our culture. As policymakers, we should be clear that on one hand, standard of living is very important. So development, growth, economic prosperity, infrastructure, all that has to happen.
Mm.
But on the other hand, standard of life is equally important. And that standard of life comes from culture, from values, from following our core competency. And the policymakers have to ensure that both are promoted well. It cannot be one at the expense of the other. In the Gita, when Bhagavan says that where there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna, there is success, prosperity, glory, and fame. That is the model, that is our model. And that is what we see in Vijayanagar. The whole foundation is a spiritual foundation. And based on that, there is economic growth, prosperity, because the vision is so deep and powerful. So, if that is what we have to learn, that let the people demand development in both, not only in economic development and progress and prosperity. What the government has been saying now recently of, Vikas bhi or Virasat bhi. That Vikas bhi and Virasat bhi both have to go together. That has to happen.
Right.
It cannot be only Vikas, Vikas, Vikas. And it cannot be only Virasat and no Vikas at all. Both have to happen together. And second is where we are able to make people proud of their country and culture. Then there is an altar of dedication, that I dedicate myself. What Aravind said, dedicatedly, selflessly excellent I will become. those opportunities the policymakers have to create. So whether it is through education, we refine the education system and create opportunities for them to understand, travel, know the glory of Bharat, know the glory of Sanatan Dharma, or whether it is through media, whether it is through the things that we depict in our art, literature, culture, drama, management, wherever the Indian touch has to come there, because the war is being fought at all these levels and one has to counter it. So policymakers have to understand that aspect and see how these basic aspects go into all these different fields, and people become proud of their country and culture, which does not mean that I'm against any other country or culture, because today that's a wrong narrative. They call it hyper nationalism, that if you say my country is great, that means I'm against all other countries. How does that? Is such a wrong logic.
Yeah.
If I say I love my mother, does means I'm against all other women? No, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
So let there be nationalism is required. There is no question about that, because the wrong narratives are being set about nationalism in the name of global cosmic citizen and all that. So the policymakers must ensure that happens, where people feel proud of their country, they feel proud of the culture, and they are able to have a altar where they can express their potential, they can channelize their energies and make themselves successful and make the country great and revive the culture.
I think Swamiji has again covered most of the aspects here. Just one thing I will add is that we as a leadership, they always set the benchmark, right? Said the Gita as well, that yat yat acharati shrestha tatta devet tarojana. So people will follow whatever leadership examples are being set. The leaders of, like, we could be Swami Vidyaranya or Vijayanagar kings, or all of them, they set the benchmark of having the vision, and then work and sacrificing everything for that vision. We said that Harihara Bukka could have just lived
Yeah.
comfortably, but they gave up all of that for their vision. So, what is the vision that today's leadership wants all of us to follow? First of all, what is the vision that they want us to follow? And are they themselves following that vision? And what sacrifices they are prepared to make for it? It's a question that I cannot answer for them. Everybody has to answer this. At our level, we have to ask ourselves also this question. But leadership should also ask themselves this question, that what is it that their vision is? If their vision is just occupying power, that will have the limited success up to that vision. What is it? What is the legacy? This is the legacy that we are having, right?
Mm.
What legacy would like to leave behind for the future? And then what is it that they are doing for it?
Something very important here when he used the word sacrifice. See, there is a compromise and there is a sacrifice. In sacrifice, I give up the lower for the higher. In compromise, I give up the higher for the lower. And we see that our ancestors did not compromise. Many of them, they fought uncompromisingly. Many of them, they gave up their lives because they didn't want to convert, they didn't want to compromise from their ideals. Today, we find such people are very rare. We need to create those people. The leadership has to focus on becoming those people and creating those people who will not compromise. Shivaji Maharaj did not compromise. Shambhaji Maharaj did not compromise. The great people, they don't compromise, and that is how they are able to achieve certain vision, which is a higher vision. Gurudev did not compromise. So many people, if you see the great achievers, today we create an ideology and then we get support of people, and then suddenly we compromise from that ideology and people are left disillusioned. That is something that one should not do. The leaders have to be very clear about that, and which is where the sadhana aspect comes in. If my heart is not clean and pure, the vision will not translate into action. At some point, selfishness will come, and like Arvind said, it will be only to retain power somehow.
Mm.
One will compromise. That is something which is a danger which one should guard against and avoid.
I think with that, it's been a wonderful talk. I think we all learned a lot through this. And I thank you both for being a part of this conversation and this journey of learning of Swami Vidyaranyaji's life and his works, along with the history that it's been. So I thank all our viewers and listeners for watching the show with us. And Swamiji, any
So
words?
we are celebrating the life and the legacy. So this whole podcast is to celebrate the life and the legacy of Swami Vidyaranya ji. And if you are inspired and you would like to know more about it, this was a souvenir that we had brought out uh, based on our play Dharma Yodha Vidyaranya. So we are celebrating the legacy and the life of Swami Vidyaranya ji. And if it has inspired you, this whole conversation was for that. This is a souvenir that we had brought out on the Swami Vidyaranya ji. This will be available online and you can order this. Come to know more and more about Swami Vidyaranya ji, about Vijayanagar, about the entire history of the whole kingdom, how it was founded, how it was flourishing, what did Vidyaranya ji contribute to it, how you and I can become Dharma Yodhas, what are certain fascinating aspects of our culture. All this is beautifully brought out in this souvenir. The link will be there in our description. Please do order it and learn more about Swamiji and share it with maximum people. Thank you. And one more important point. Vaishakha Shukla Saptami is the birthday of Swami Vidyaranya ji. Please observe on that day the birthday of Swamiji, celebrate it, and also, if you can, read about Swamiji, take one sankalpa that how you will be a Dharma Yodha and what will be your contribution for Sanatan Dharma. That is one thing that if you can do, it would be wonderful. And may the grace of Swami Vidyaranya ji and Mother Bhuvaneshwari be with all of us.
Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Harihi Om
Shri
Shri
Guru
Gurubhyo
Bhyo Namaha
Namaha
Harihi
Harihi
Om
Om